Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. And today we're talking about my 10 favorite metalcore and mathcore albums of 2025. My last video was my 10 favorite post-hardcore, punk rock, and hardcore punk albums of the year. And I've already put up my 10 favorite instrumental albums of the year. And I put up my top 25 albums of the year. So if you want to see those, go check them out on my channel. And yeah, continuing this genre series, I'll probably do black metal next, but today it's metalcore and mathcore. And caveats before I jump into my list, I'm not counting super progressive metalcore bands. If I did, bands like Between the Buried and Me, Benthos, Ginger would then be my top 3, but I already mentioned them in my top 25 albums overall for the year, and I classify them more as prog metal than metalcore, though they're kind of both. And I'm not counting post-hardcore stuff like borders on metalcore sometimes, things like Greyhaven, Idola, Hail the Sun, Dance Gavin Dance, Keo Nashi, as I made a separate list for those bands. So they're in my post-hardcore video. And they're more of an offshoot of punk rock, hardcore punk, and emo than they are metal. So let's jump into my top 10 metalcore and mathcore albums of the year. And at number 10, I've got Syncopia with Phase 2, and this is an EP. And this is a little bit progressive, but still leans more towards the metalcore side. So that's what a lot of these are. There's a lot of gray area and genres, and it's like, when does a band cross the border and become a prog metal band instead of metalcore? So a lot of these are probably right on that border, because I threw out the bands that were clearly prog metal, and I prefer prog metal. They're a German band, and I never heard any music by Syncopia before, but I checked this out. I checked out a single on Bandcamp called Call of the Sea. It's a great, catchy song, clean female vocals on the chorus, and intense, harsh vocals during the other sections of the song. Great guitar riffs and energy. And then I checked out the whole EP. The whole EP is just excellent. Everything on this list today has at least got my excellent tier stamp of approval. If you're a fan of Red Handed Denial, Spirit Box, Sordid Pink, and Novelists, or any of those other metalcore bands that are a bit more progressive and djenty and technical but have great, catchy, clean female vocal hooks, check out Phase 2 by Syncopia. At number 9, speaking of which, I've got Novelists with their album Coda, another one that is catchy and accessible with great female vocals. And another one that's also a little bit progressive and djenty, but still more on the metalcore side. This one's also got some alternative metal and pop influences. And Novelist is a French band. It's their 5th album. And yeah, this manages to be catchy and accessible while still being impressive technically and just progressive enough to get my attention. Great female vocals from Camille Contreras here. Check out Coda by Novelists. That's my number 9 metalcore / mathcore album of the year. And at number 8, I guess my bottom few all have a theme here. Actually, you know what? My bottom 4 and a lot of the albums on my list have a theme here with the female vocals. I guess I love that in metalcore. Number 8 is Spirit Box with Tsunami Sea, another amazing female metalcore vocalist, and another one that's a little bit progressive, a little bit djenty, but not quite enough to be prog metal, still more in the metalcore world. Alternative metal, industrial metal, post-metal, pop, all mixed in too. So they do experiment a bit. Check out the song Soft Spine for a preview. That's a good heavy song. Forgot to mention the tracks for the other ones. For Novelists, check out the title track Coda. And for Syncopia, check out Pearly Gates. But Spirit Box is one I hold close to my heart because they're a Canadian band, which I got to represent my fellow Canadians. This is their 2nd album. And I also was a fan of Courtney's previous band, I Wrestled the Bear Once. I really love them as well. So followed her since then, and I think she's doing great work in Spirit Box. I also loved her work in I Wrestled the Bear Once. And I thought the debut album by Spirit Box was a near masterpiece. As usual on Tsunami Sea, there's great vocals by Courtney here. She's one of the best in the business. She can do great screams. She can do amazing clean singing. The album didn't quite hit me as hard as their debut, Eternal Blue, did, I'll be honest, but there's still many excellent songs. Soft Spine, a heavy, intense banger. Tsunami Sea, which is a softer, catchier pop banger. And No Loss, No Love, which has a weird electronic vocal parts that add some variety and interest to the album. So check this out if you're a fan of Architects and Deftones. It sounds like those two bands mixed together, combined with some pop. And I do like this better than Architects. And just Courtney's vocals are amazing. If she sang the songs on the Architects album and the Spirit Box album had the Architects vocalist, I'd probably like the Architects music more. I think she's the star of the band here. The band's great too. Um, but yeah, just the songwriting I think is a bit better and more unique than Architects here too. So I put this in my excellent tier. I love it. Tsunami Sea by Spirit Box at number 8. Now number 7 got some Mathcore, and again, great female vocals here. Pupil Slicer with Fleshwork. This is Mathcore with alternative, indie, post rock, black metal, and death metal influences, and this is by far the heaviest of everything that I've mentioned so far, and the least accessible so far on this list. Check out the tracks Nomad and Heather for a preview here. This is the third album by Pupil Slicer. They're a band from the UK. I love their first two albums, so I expected this to be great. And if you're a fan of Rolo Tomasi, maybe another one that might be on my list today, another female-fronted mathcore band. They combine mathcore brutality and intensity with occasional soft touches of beauty, atmosphere, and catchiness. But this album by Pupil Slicer really leaned more into brutality than their last one, and I think I would have liked it a bit better actually if it had a bit more melody. But it's still an excellent tier album. I think their last one though was a near masterpiece, and I kind of liked it more than this one. I particularly like some of the melodic vocals in their previous album. This new one by Pupil Slicer is more than 95% harsh vocals. It has only a few clean vocal moments. I would think the last one had a better balance. But this band just really does this heavy, brutal mathcore intensity better than almost any band going today. And you'll probably see some of the other bands that I like that are doing this style a little bit better. You'll see them higher up on this list. At number 6, I've got Car Bomb, another mathcore one here. And this one's an EP called Tiles Whisper Dreams. And now this might be the most brutal on the list, even more so than Pupil Slicer. Here's one, they don't have a female vocalist, so I think this is the first male vocalist on my list here. Check out the track Paroxysm for a preview of that. And Car Bomb's an American mathcore band. They've got a gent style of guitar playing and sound, but they do even more chaotic stuff with rhythm changes than most gent bands can dream of. This EP is really short. It's only 12 minutes long. I think if it was longer, it would probably be higher up on my list. But it really packs a punch. It's relentlessly brutal. It's chaotic. It's heavy. It's technical the whole time. Just wild, harsh vocals. It reminds me of Meshuggah, which I think is one of the heaviest bands for me, heaviest and most brutal bands around. And I think Car Bomb's up there. This could be the heaviest and most brutal band around today. I know everybody kind of has a different definition of what they define as heavy and brutal, but this is possibly up there. But at the same time, it's not like caveman slammy stuff. I don't really like that kind of heavy brutality music where it's only about that. Car Bomb is very musical, it's very technical, and they're very proficient at all their instruments. The rhythms are intricate, and it's hard to know what time signature you're in. They just change tempos by slowing things down, they speed things up. They're very unique and unusual. The way they make their guitars sound like random objects like race cars is pretty cool. If you want to hear the sound of Meshuggah meeting the insanity of the Dillinger Escape Plan, Check this out. I just wish it was longer and they gave us a full length. I still put it in my excellent tier despite its short length. This is one of the best EPs of the year, which is another video I'll probably make in the near future. My top EPs of the year, and I imagine this will be in it again. Tiles Whispered Dreams EP by Carbomb at number 6 on my Metalcore and Mathcore list. At number 5, I've got a female vocalist again here with Rolo Tomasi and In the Echo of All Dreams, Mathcore with progressive rock, post-metal, post-rock, metalcore, pop, gent, industrial metal, maybe even a post-hardcore emo tinge from time to time. Excellent tier. Another EP. So I also have a few EPs on this list, liking the shorter metalcore things this year. Check out the track Tempest for a preview of this. They're a British band that I love. Great female vocals here from Eva Corman, and all their albums are near masterpieces. They're all very consistent in quality, and this EP continues my love for them. Eva can sing beautifully. She can scream with the best of them. She continues to impress me. It's only 15 minutes long, though, so I just wish it was longer. If it was a full-length album, I'd give it a near masterpiece rating, and it would probably be number 1 on my list here. But since it's so short and it left me wanting more, I'm just going to put it in my excellent tier. But if you're a fan of stuff I've been talking about so far, like People Slicer, I Wrestled the Bear Once, the Dillinger Escape Plan, or other bands like Number 12 Looks Like You and Fall of Troy, I think you'll like Rolo Tomasi. So check out In the Echo of All Dreams EP by Rolo Tomasi, my number 5. And number 4, I've got a more traditional melodic metalcore band. This time it's a male vocalist here with Killswitch Engage and their album This Consequence. This is just straightforward melodic metalcore, one of the more straightforward ones on the list. Them along with, I guess, Novelist isn't too out there. But yeah, this is more traditional metalcore. Check out the track Abandon Us for a preview here. And this is their 9th album. Killswitch Engage is an American band, and they're probably one of the biggest and the best metalcore bands of all time. And everything they do is consistently excellent. So I was looking forward to this. And my only critique of them would be that a lot of what they do sounds very much the same. I was hoping they'd take some risks and branch out. They've always kind of just been a band that like rides the excellent tier for me. I don't feel like they ever jumped out and made a near masterpiece or a masterpiece yet. They mostly play it safe on this album, but there are a couple songs that impressed me where they embraced some variety. They like when they embrace more of their hardcore and brutal side, and they go even heavier than they ever went before. I enjoyed that. But for the most part, besides a couple of songs, this album sounds like what you would expect from Killswitch Engage, but I still like that. I like how they open the album with Abandon Us, which has a sweet opening riff with some on-time signatures. But by the time the chorus hits on that song, you're in familiar Killswitch territory with a catchy chorus hook. There's a guitar solo after the first chorus. The guitar solos on the album are great. I like Forever Aligned and I Believe. Other early release singles, those are the catchiest and most radio-friendly songs on this Killswitch Engage album. Good songs in here, nothing too surprising. Collusion's a great track. As a prog fan, I like that the chorus is in 7 but still manages to be catchy. The Fall of Us is a really heavy one with blast beat drumming, but also has great melodic moments. Just really great songs all around. Killswitch Engage, This Consequence, my number 4 metalcore/mathcore album of 2025. Now let's jump back to Mathcore with number 3, which is Wilt Wither and their album Pure Light. This is Mathcore with progressive metalcore gent influences here. And this one is where we get into my near masterpiece tier. So the top 3 on this list today are near masterpieces. The bottom 7 I've got in my excellent tier. And this one, I like the track Worst Case Scenario. I like Front Door Phobia. I like Obsolete. A lot of great tracks here. And this is a debut album, so that's really exciting. They're an American band. Wilt Wither does these great genty mathcore vibes for fans of the Tony Danza tap dance extravaganza, but also with some great clean vocal moments for people who like their mathcore with some hooks, like fans of the Callous Dowboys or the Dillinger Escape Plan or Rolo Tomasi. This is on 3 Dot Recordings, which is Periphery's record label, and this is one of the best debuts I've heard all year. Another video that I'm looking forward to making is my top debut albums of the year. Speaking of top debut albums of the year, another great one that will probably be on that list is Villanova and their album Hit It, which is my number 2 metalcore slash mathcore album of the year. And this one's fairly progressive, but still, I kind of put it in the metalcore camp instead of the prog metal. This one's maybe the most debatable. Like maybe it should be considered prog metal, but I've got it on my metalcore list. It's kind of genty. It's got alternative metal, funk, and pop influences. Near masterpiece here by Villanova. Check out the track Whatever All Right for a preview. They're a German band, and this is their debut album. It's got genty rhythms and guitar playing for fans of Periphery and Karelia, some wild genre switch-ups reminiscent of this year's release from the Callous Dowboys, and soaring, high-pitched, clean vocals that remind me of those bands, plus Protest the Hero and also some harsh vocal moments. Whatever All Right sounds like it could be played in a club initially with some EDM backbeats and almost mumble rap vocals, but then a wild gent breakdown and harsh screams end the song. So that was kind of an interesting adventure of a song. Check out Hit It by Villanova if you want to hear some unique metalcore that brings in a lot of different styles. And that's a similar way I would describe my number 1, which is Callous Dowboys. And I Don't Want to See You in Heaven. This one's mathcore, I'd say, with some metalcore, post-hardcore, emo, alternative metal influences, and it's a near masterpiece as well. Check out Schizophrenia Legacy for a preview here. This is the 3rd album by Callous Dowboys. They're an American band. It's a concept album, which is pretty cool. I think it's like about set in the future when people are going to this museum of failure and looking at art pieces of artists that weren't successful, and this album is one of the art pieces, I guess, in that museum. So they're kind of calling themselves failures, I guess, I believe. And all of their albums and EPs so far have been excellent, but this one I think is their best work yet. The singles I heard ahead of time were all excellent. I think this puts them among my favorite bands list, which is getting really big at this point. But it takes a lot for a band to kind of get onto my favorite bands list at this point. But there are a bunch of them. They have this ability, the Callous Dowboys, to be as catchy as bands like Fall Out Boy. So their catchy hook moments could be like radio pop worthy, but also as heavy and chaotic as the Dillinger Escape Plan. And they can do both of those extremes really well. And this album continues their excellence, and I think I'm going to be a lifelong fan of the Callous Dowboys. I like every track on here, but I have to say Schizophrenia Legacy is my favorite at the moment. Two-Headed Trout is great. Idiot Temptation Force is another awesome one. If you like mathcore that can get catchy, then check out I Don't Want to See You in Heaven by Callous Dowboys, my number 1 metalcore slash mathcore album of 2025. What do you think of this list? Let me know down in the comments. And what were some of your favorites that came out in metalcore and mathcore this year? Also let me know. And if you like metal, rock, and prog music, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay in the loop on when I post new videos, because I'm posting my year-end content run now, and I'll be posting lists like this on various subgenres. Like I mentioned, I already have my post-hardcore slash punk slash hardcore punk one up. Next one will probably be black metal. I'm going to do various rock subgenres, metal subgenres, maybe a non-metal, non-rock, non-prog, top EPs, top live albums, top prog rock albums, top debuts, and then I'll talk about prog epic tracks that are my favorite tracks that were longer than 13 minutes in length. So that's the content I have planned. Hope you find something interesting there, and peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.